What's happening, DramaLoop fam? We've got a bombshell report dropping on the Archdiocese of Cincinnati's handling of a priest scandal. And Senate Republicans are digging deep into a Trump administration controversy. A man's freedom after 41 years behind bars, thanks to prosecutorial misconduct. And the Clippers are caught in a massive Kawhi Leonard no-show scandal. Stick around, you don't want to miss this. Archdiocese of Cincinnati faces renewed scrutiny over priest scandal. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati is once again facing tough questions about its transparency following a recent incident involving a priest. Local 12 has uncovered that the Archdiocese turned over a priest's computer, allegedly containing pornography, to law enforcement 2 weeks ago. However, the public was only informed about the situation this past Tuesday, sparking frustration among some who feel the church is not being upfront. Daniel Frondorf, head of the Cincinnati Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, SNAP, expressed his dismay, stating, "I'm mind-boggled how they haven't learned the lesson to be as transparent as possible from day one." The Archdiocese released a statement confirming that an employee at St. Michael, the Archangel Parish, found concerning websites on Father Edward Burns' computer. Father Burns has been placed on administrative leave, and law enforcement was notified. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office confirmed the computer was handed over 2 weeks prior. Frondorf highlighted the potential damage to trust, noting, "All they're doing is making their customers, their parishioners, even more suspicious." This marks the fourth incident of a sexual nature to affect the Cincinnati Archdiocese in as many years. Archbishop Robert Casey, who took over in April, had previously spoken about the importance of transparency. Despite these assurances, questions linger about the Archdiocese's delay in publicizing the incident. Will the Archdiocese of Cincinnati finally learn to be fully transparent from the start? But before we dive deeper into that, get ready for a political bombshell that's shaking up Washington. Senate Republicans launch probe into Trump administration scandal. In a rare display of congressional oversight, Senate Republicans are scrutinizing a significant scandal within the Trump administration, focusing on the actions of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., and the fallout surrounding former CDC Director Susan Monarez. Monarez, who was abruptly fired after just 29 days as CDC Director, testified before Congress, detailing her account of why she was dismissed. She claims Kennedy expressed a lack of trust in her, a stark contrast to Kennedy's prior testimony that Monarez was asked if she was a trustworthy person and responded negatively. This public discord highlights internal administration friction. The hearing is notable as one of the first real oversight proceedings into a Trump administration scandal, offering a platform for those who felt wronged to share their stories. The probe is fueled by political and personal motivations, particularly Kennedy's unpopular stance on vaccines, which pollster Tony Fabrizio noted is broadly opposed across party lines. Senator Bill Cassidy, a doctor himself, is particularly invested, having agonized over his vote to confirm Kennedy and now finding his assurances ignored, especially concerning the newborn hepatitis B vaccine recommendation. Cassidy framed the hearing as a move towards radical transparency, as called for by President Trump, though the proceedings remained unusually civil. Some Republicans, like Senators Ashley Moody and Jim Banks, focused on Monarez's choice of legal counsel or suggested she orchestrated her firing. Senator Markwayne Mullin's claim of a recording of Monarez's firing was later retracted after scrutiny from Cassidy and Sanders. These oversight hearings are infrequent, especially as the GOP remains largely aligned with Trump, but they serve to punctuate Trump's ability to dominate the news cycle by keeping focus on specific actions and statements. Could this congressional hearing finally pierce through the Trump administration's control of the news cycle? Next up, a story of justice delayed, but not denied, as a man walks free after over 4 decades behind bars. Man walks free after 41 years, as OC prosecutors admit evidence withholding. A monumental victory for justice has been achieved as Guy Scott, a man who spent 41 years in prison, is set to be released following a judge's order to reduce his charges from murder to manslaughter, a move spurred by prosecutorial misconduct and the admission that his office failed to turn over crucial evidence. At 69 years old, Scott's tears of gratitude flowed as the judge announced his imminent freedom. His lawyer, Scott Sanders, a former OC public defender who previously uncovered the county's notorious snitch scandal, hailed it as a true second chance. This case is a significant development in the ongoing fallout from the scandal, which has led to nearly 60 convictions being overturned or reduced. Sanders commended current Orange County prosecutors for their eventual transparency in uncovering and sharing the long-hidden evidence. The original case involved the 1981 murder of Larry Minor, where Scott and Peter McDonald were convicted, while a third man, Robert Neary, became an informant in exchange for immunity. New evidence suggests Neary may have lied to implicate Scott and downplay his own role, with critical evidence initially withheld from Scott's defense. Sanders asserts that had this evidence been disclosed from the start, Scott would have been acquitted 41 years ago. The agreement to reduce the charge to voluntary manslaughter, carrying a maximum of 11 years, means Scott has served at least an additional 3 decades wrongfully. The snitch scandal itself originated under former District Attorney Tony Rackauckas, who repeatedly denied the program's existence, and evidence suggests the misconduct dates back at least 30 years prior to federal investigations. Scott plans to move into a sober living home, expressing profound gratitude to his legal team for finally delivering justice. Will this case finally bring full accountability for the decades-long snitch scandal? And speaking of scandals, the NBA is on the hot seat with shocking revelations about the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. Clippers and Kawhi Leonard embroiled in $21 million no-show scandal. The Los Angeles Clippers and owner Steve Ballmer are facing intense scrutiny following the discovery of financial records that appear to link a $21 million withdrawal to the controversial no-show endorsement deal involving star player Kawhi Leonard and the now-defunct Aspiration Company. Pablo Torre revealed a letter bearing the Clippers' official logo, confirming a nearly $21 million disbursement from an escrow account intended to fund carbon projects for Aspiration. This sustainable banking and investment firm is accused of facilitating a $28 million endorsement deal for Leonard, allegedly as a means for the Clippers to bypass NBA salary cap restrictions. Steve Ballmer, who was an investor in Aspiration, received the sales pitch from the company weeks before the letter was signed by the Clippers' chief financial officer on June 14, 2022. Torre reported that this funding was not only sufficient for Kawhi Leonard's payment, but also met Aspiration's fundraising target and kept the company afloat just prior to Leonard's initial no-show payment deadline of June 30, 2022. A former senior executive at Aspiration, identified as source number 2, corroborated that this transaction was indeed one of the ways the Clippers and Ballmer funneled money into Aspiration to circumvent the cap, a point also echoed by former Mavericks owner Mark Cuban. Ballmer has previously stated he introduced Leonard to Aspiration, but denied involvement in the endorsement deal itself. The NBA has launched an investigation into these allegations, with reports suggesting it may not conclude until after the 2026 NBA All-Star Game, which the Clippers are set to host. Aspiration filed for bankruptcy in March after facing fraud charges from the Justice Department. Could this financial paper trail unravel the Clippers' alleged salary cap circumvention? That's all for today's deep dives, but we've got a rapid-fire recap coming right up. All right, DramaLoop fam, that was a whirlwind of news. We covered the Archdiocese of Cincinnati facing questions over a priest scandal, Senate Republicans probing a Trump administration controversy, a man's freedom after 41 years due to prosecutorial misconduct, and the Clippers caught in a massive Kawhi Leonard no-show scandal. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to DramaLoop for all the latest updates, ring that notification bell so you never miss a video, and tell us in the comments which story shocked you the most. Follow us on all social media platforms to stay connected. We'll see you in the next one.